Assalamualaikum and good day. I am Suraini B. Ibrahim. So in behalf of my members in Group 5, I will be going to continue the discussion of the developing critical and creative thinking skill. I will be going to focus about the conceptual framework or the overview framework for critical and creative thinking and the discussion of techniques. When you say developing, what comes in your mind? Developing is wherein you improve. What about thinking? It is the process wherein we create new ideas. So, let us start with the conceptual framework or the overview framework for critical and creative thinking. So, the key ideas for critical and creative thinking are organized into 4 interrelated elements in the learning continuum as shown in the figure below. So, there is the figure. Okay, let's start with reflecting on thinking and processes. It is a reflective thinking is using the scientific method. When you say scientific, it is a systematic and it is not a guess. Okay, it is to make a decision, helps to determine an individual's strengths and weaknesses by allowing individuals to question values, beliefs, challenge assumptions, recognize biases, acknowledge fears, and find areas of improvement. So, there are 3 ways to use this element. Let's start with the metacognition. It is about the think about thinking. Accordingly, it has 5 cycles. It starts with the ability to assess the task at hand. Example is wherein the students have a clear picture of what they need to accomplish, meaning meron silang goal. Okay, the second is to evaluate strengths and weaknesses. They are able to evaluate what and where they have weaknesses and strength. Third is to plan the approach. They are going to cope up ideas to be able to cope up with their strengths and weaknesses and to improve. Okay, the fourth is to apply the strategies. And lastly is to reflect. Okay, the second way to this method or element is to reflect on process, which means it let us evaluate and analyze what we have to do and accomplish a strategy. So it is same with the metacognition, the first way to accomplish this element. Okay, the third way is to transfer knowledge into new context. It is the process wherein we apply learning from one situation to another. Example is letting your students read and discuss what they have understand and to read, and they are going to apply this. Okay? The second element is the inquiry, identifying, exploring, and organizing information and ideas. This element involves students develop inquiry skills. So what is inquiry? It is wherein the students can ask questions and explore. Students pose questions and identify, clarify information and ideas, and then organize and process information. The third element is generating ideas, possibilities, and actions. When you say generating ideas, it is wherein we create ideas that could help and could be the solution. And when we create ideas, we also create possibilities that could solve the problems. When you think it is reliable and it is good, it is where we do the action. So let us read the definition of this third element. This element involves student creating ideas. As you can see, it is telling that we create ideas and then actions, and considering and expanding on known actions and ideas. Student imagine possibilities and connect ideas through considering alternatives. When you say alternatives, ito yung parang sinasabi nilang plan B. It is wherein the students could use their ideas and their creativity. Example is when the students doesn't have a ruler or any standard measurement that could measure their book or notebook, then it is where the non-standard measurement can be used. Then the students imagine possibilities and connect ideas through considering alternatives. Then it is where they seek solutions and putting ideas into action. So as they think that they can use the non-standard measure of length. Example is when they are going to measure their notebook using their paper clips. And then it is where the action is being used. Okay, the fourth element is the analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating reasoning and procedures. So let us read the definition of this fourth element. In this element, it involves students analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating the reasoning and procedures used to find solutions. So it is used to find solutions, then evaluate and justify results or inform courses of action. When you say analyzing, it is where the students are going to analyze and use their creativity. They use what they are going to do. Okay, so let us proceed with the discussion of techniques. Oral communication is useful for more than building critical thinking. So it is more useful now than building critical thinking. It works just as well for creative thinking. Creativity involves developing an idea that is both novel and useful, and a successful creative concept goes through three phases. It is the ideation, iteration, and innovation. What is ideation or ideation? It is widely regarded as a process by which we come up with lots and lots of ideas. Lots of ideas from the word idea. Then, however, it starts with coming up of idea that works. So ideation, it is where the students are able to think of many ideas and that could possibly work. So the second is the iteration. It is a recital or performance a second time repetition. It also needs to take steps to conclude and solve a problem. Third is the innovation. It can be described as creativity. Remember class that innovation and creativity is different. Innovation is a creativity that is implemented. Okay? Innovation is putting the idea into practice. So, putting the idea into practice meaning it is wherein the idea is not only stuck in our minds but it must be practiced. Okay? Some of the thought process that have creative process include these three. So it is the associative thinking, analogical thinking, analogies, and reverse thinking. When you say associative thinking, This process involves combining unrelated ideas to create new idea. So, it would combine the unrelated ideas for us to be able to create the new idea. So, it is creative. So, the second is the analogical thinking. It is the analogies that can help students understand a new concept or find new insights by linking it to a well-understood existing concept. So it helps the students to understand and create new concept, meaning it is really creative. So the third is the reverse thinking. It is when you challenge your assumptions or look at a problem from the opposite perspective. You often get radically new insight. Ito yung It is where you are going to think about the opposite side or the other perspective. For discussion strategy to be productive, it needs to fit with both the creative pace and cognitive thought process that it invokes in creative problem solving. The following are the strategies that can help. First is the yes and. Example is where you ask and the students will say yes, and you will answer them with and, which means you are going to get an information for them and see if they understand what you have delivering or discussing. It is most useful in ideation. Remember, ideation is a lots of ideas that works. Then the cognitive skill is the associative thinking. Okay, the second is the closing. The most useful in this is the ideation. The cognitive skill is to associative thinking and critical thinking. The reverse of reframing. It is most useful in iteration, and the cognitive skill in this strategy is the reverse thinking. The last is the storytelling. It is most useful in innovation. Remember, innovation is a creativity that is implemented. The cognitive skill is the analogical thinking and the narrative thinking. I hope you have learned something, and thank you for listening. God bless and wassalam.